what they decide to take this time around. Bans coming up really quickly. LeBlanc, Nidalee already off the table from Copenhagen Wolves, and they ban the Kalista, the Morgana. Strangely enough, yet we haven't seen the Cassiopeia. Between these two teams, 20 Cassiopeia bans. And there it is.
There it is. Okay, the Copenhagen Wolves. So this is simply because the Wolves don't want to first pick it, and they know Unicorns might take it in the first rotation on their side. And instead they're setting up for potential Rek'Sai for Airwaks. Even though Jarvan has been his main pick, we're looking towards Rek'Sai. If a team bans Nidalee and Rek'Sai is open, you would expect that to be the first pick, unless Sejuani is going to come in for him. Airwaks normally is the main engage from the Copenhagen Wolves, and that would fit in nicely for him, and it is a fantastic pick at the moment. But look at the bans here, how different it is. I would honestly expect Sejuani first pick, but okay, Maokai can work too.
All right, yeah, with the Rek'Sai banned away. I mean, Sejuani has received a number of bans today. I want to see what they do flesh the jungle out with. So very quick pickup for the Maokai and then YoungBuck. And then Unicorns are going to have some chance to answer. They're definitely favoring the Annie right now.
If they don't take Sejuani here, Airwaks should lock it in, and then you have one of the strongest front lines you can have on this current patch for the Copenhagen Wolves. That fits in nicely. If you can put your top laner, who's been somewhat of a weak link overall and has been more of a supportive style, on a Maokai, that's like the best champion ever for him, because it's such a simple champion to play, and your job is just to be a big front line. Sejuani coming in from Airwaks, Unicorns did not pick it up, took the Annie away from Unlimited instead. I mean, the Copenhagen Wolves are getting everything they want right here. They can go, like, you have Sivir already with the mobility, you're gonna go for Righteous Glory on Maokai. I've even seen it on a Sejuani. If we see double Righteous Glory and a Sivir ulti, you are gonna run so fast into the head or into the face of the Unicorns, and it won't even hurt.
Yeah, this is a lot of chase we've been seeing today. A lot of very fast-paced fights and a lot of very fast chases.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like League's been kicked into high gear for this week in the LCS.
And look at the bans for this game. It's completely different from the other games you've had so far. There's so many different champions viable, so many different strategies from these teams here. And obviously this week, it's going to be so much about finding out, okay, what exactly do we want to play? What do we think is the strongest? Jungle Nunu is another one on the current patch with the Syndra Hulk, who's going to be very, very good. Also because late game, how do you kill a tank? You need an AD carry to do it. Buff him with the Blood Boil, use the ulti of a Nunu to zone. That's how you can set up your AD carry, but not a Graves. Graves late game is not going to do anything to Sejuani and Maokai. So Unicorns here are really looking at getting a lead in the laning phase, and then into the mid game where they have to be able to snowball it. No pun intended with the Nunu. Otherwise, the Copenhagen Wolves coming late game is just going to roll over them.
Yeah. Well, it's all right because it's an ice ball anyways. But on the other hand, yeah, the Wolves, they've got you know, something a little bit interesting here with the Karthus pickup for Soren. PowerOfEvil, of course, is going to get to play, you know, we haven't seen as much of it, but I still want to call it a signature champion in Syndra. He had an amazing performance in the opening weeks, and it's kind of been a little bit back and forth. But Karthus is very fragile if you can get him caught.
Well, the thing is, if you look at Copenhagen Wolves, when they pick Karthus, it's because they see Hecarim, and they know Hecarim is going to dive onto our team. So if he dives onto Karthus and kills him, it doesn't really matter, because the passive is still there. With the adaptation here from Unicorns taking Syndra, I quite like that in this case, because she's now obviously going to sit in the back line. So now your goal is to pop that Karthus, one-shot him, and then you back away. You disengage away from the Copenhagen Wolves. Allow, or basically not allow Soren to do anything. Laning phase also should be heavily in favor of PowerOfEvil. And I do wonder if we're going to get to see our new mid lane item, Luden's Echo, which is honestly pretty good on Syndra, because she moves around, she spams her abilities quite a lot. And it gives her a lot of extra burst damage as a potential first item. But obviously, we're going to have to see how much gold he has when he goes back, because you need that large rod first before you really want to go for it first.
Yeah, I think we definitely could see it this time.
A lot of first, right?
But there's, well, we have a lot of first today.
There's a lot of first stuff
definitely.
going on.
Now, that's the first. Now we get to the last at the very least. As we load up into the game, don't forget to keep tweeting out your predictions at LOL Esports with hashtag CWWin or UOLWin. But of course, you're not going to be the only ones. Let's go ahead and hear what the Copenhagen Wolves coach Dentist had to say about that Wolf-Unicorn dynamic right before these two teams last met in week number 3.
Well, I don't know what you saw, but actually we don't like them. Like, have you ever seen a unicorn and a wolf in natural habit not fighting each other? I didn't.
That's the start of a rivalry, I would think. The crowd is amped up here. Let's get onto the Rift and find out how these two go head-to-head once again.
Yeah, and let's see if the Unicorns can manage to get that lead early on. Everything about their comp really just signals early to mid-game power from the laners. Obviously the Nunu here Not the best ganger, but you can really allow your laners to have a lot of vision control and map control. So if we see Kikis do what Soren's having a bit of a moment there, but if you see Kikis do what Reinover did in the last game, focus on early vision control, you allow your laners to play extremely aggressive like they want to do. And the Copenhagen Wolves, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and lane swap with this. Maokai is a lot better in a swap than Hecarim, and would really delay their Trinity Force and also kind of remove the bully potential from an ADC Graves lane.
I think you're going to be right here. You see Freeze backing off, and he's going to move his way up top. So Vardags, Hylissang moving down into the bottom. They're spotted by that ward, and they're going to take their place, but they are going to be facing off against YoungBuck after he finishes his rounds with Airwaks. Yeah. So Copenhagen Wolves looking for a little bit more of a sneaky start.
YoungBuck here will get his Raptor, will get his level 2 from that one, or potentially set it up for Soren. Karthus can take the Raptor. If you kill the small ones for him, the Raptor itself, Karthus can take it over the wall, which might be what they're aiming for here, or at least give him the small minions, so he gets a bit of an XP boost in that lane. As you can see how YoungBuck is standing now with Airwaks on the red buff. No small minions for him, instead 3 suddenly for Soren. So a small XP advantage for him in the lane. He will need it into the Syndra here. Can be a bit of a tricky lane. Already sitting on 6 CS, so perfect start for him. So small Raptors and a few lane minions and an early level 2 already.
Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned, it's never to underestimate what Soren can do, especially to the start of the game. Meanwhile, Kikis, Vizicsacsi, they're going to be duking it out with the red Brambleback to take that buff. And it looks like it goes over to Kikis, of course. They don't want to give it to Vizicsacsi in this case.
Yeah, so this is one of the things for Hecarim top lane, is he farms really well in the jungle. He clears it super easy, so that's a way of him kind of staying relevant, despite him normally want to stand at lane, so he gets a fast Trinity Force. You can see for Vizicsacsi as well, starting longsword, simply knowing, okay, I'm not going to really be in any trouble, I'm just going to farm the jungle instead. So fairly simple start for him, trying to rush towards the Trinity Force, no flask. Meanwhile, the bottom lane, I believe, was frozen from the Unicorns, so we're waiting. So they've frozen the bottom lane. Meanwhile, Freeze is trying to do the same in the top. So we have 2 side lanes now pushing towards the AD carries. Let's see what the top lanes decide to do. Normally, then what you would do is you take either your top lane and jungler down to the lane and you just like hard push it out, push it into the enemy tower, so the tower kills all the minions and kind of resets the whole wave, and then you meet the middle, and then you can't really freeze anymore. And then suddenly the top lane can get XP, or you take your support if you have a ranged top laner or one who can farm from range, and you put the support and top laner together to just 2v2 lane. Over and over. Maokai can do it with a Lulu, and you just leave Freeze on his own on the Sivir here, but that would obviously open up for Vizicsacsi to do the same, or will come up and be one-on-one against Freeze.
Yeah, it's also opened up for the Unicorns to try this early Dragon. Not even 4 minutes in, they've got it down to about half its health, but they're not really being spotted by this one just yet. It should go down. Vizicsacsi tanking up most everything here. Hylissang's just going to go ahead and start his back. Dragon number 1 securely into the pockets of the Unicorns of Love. Really no contest opportunities there either.
This is often what happens when obviously the dual lane from the Unicorns are on the bottom side, so they will be stronger. I wouldn't have minded to see Copenhagen Wolves though take Unlimited and move him away from this lane, because he's currently sitting in a 2v0 situation. He's not really doing anything. And move him down towards the Dragon a lot earlier, so you could have prevented that Dragon from happening. But against the Nunu, it's a fairly safe one from the Unicorns, and you need support from the enemy team. You need obviously the top lane and the jungler to show up to really force them away from that Dragon. But now, as we mentioned before here, what Maokai can do is he can team up with the support if he wants to, start pushing in. But now it seems like it's just going to be YoungBuck on his own when this wave here. Vardags needs to make sure it does not get pushed into his tower and reset the whole thing.
Yeah, Hylissang is going on a bit of a deep roam as well. Gets the ward out over by the Gromp. He actually could run smack dab into an Unlimited. The ward's down, so they both know exactly what is up.
And we can see
aggression there, yeah.
It's Unicorn saying we want farm on our Hecarim. He needs that Trinity Force, so we send the support top lane now. We get a few deep wards in, and we basically allow Vizicsacsi to push at least some of the wave and see if you can get into that tower here and reset the whole thing. The wave itself is not going to freeze that hard down towards the Copenhagen Wolves, so this is a fine situation. And the reason these deep wards are so important is because you know you're going to be pushing the lane from the Unicorn side, so you're very open to ganks. And that's why you got to get them wards in. Vardags as well now. Freeze has been broken, and YoungBuck will be able to sit and farm with saplings and get quite a lot of farm. We see double Dorans from him for some lane pressure. Would expect him to go Catalyst. Potentially delay the Righteous Glory and just get a few tank items. before he completes it, but that also depends on how fast the Copenhagen Wolves really want a team fight.
They don't seem to be in a rush just yet. The game has been, especially compared to the rest of the ones we've had today, pretty quiet, to say the least. But up in the top lane with the jungle, oop, Hylissang taking a little low. Here's the Requiem. As soon as I say it, something's going to change, and that's going to be first blood. You can't get away from it. And Soren grabs that one from across the map.
Yeah, Hecarim here, Annie, is not exactly the strongest 2-on-2 lane.
No, it's
and
not.
Hylissang really not respecting the damage coming from Soren. Clearly, could have flashed the boomerang blade from Freeze and obviously stayed alive after. But we did mention how the Wolves have been feeding a bit of extra farm on Airwaks, or on Soren, but now Airwaks, he's in the top lane for Vizicsacsi.
Yep, Vizicsacsi is going to get knocked, but it's going to be unlimited, taking a lot of tower shots as he has to back away. A teleport onto the same tower is cancelled.
Let's pretend we didn't see that one.
No, no one saw it. It's okay. YoungBuck now, he's in some trouble as well. Collateral damage is not going to be enough to take him down. A lot of slaps are traded. Soren could be in some trouble. Exhaust is thrown down. Soren is flashing, and he's going to go down as well. The Dark Sphere, PowerOfEvil picks him off.
It is a really tough lane for Karthus here. You're basically forced to just sit back and farm. PowerOfEvil, he moved around the corner here, so he was out of vision from Soren. That's how he managed to land the stun over the wall from the small bush. He now has 2k gold here. I wonder if we're going to see Luden's Echo as the first item for him on this Syndra. He had enough gold at least to buy the large rod if he wants it. Seems not, though.
Yeah, he goes and gets himself a pair of shoes, as well as the finished Codex, so a little disappointing, I suppose, but, you know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, Freeze finds Hylissang. A lot of damage on both sides. Traded Vizicsacsi with the charge in. Unlimited was there and healthy, though, so they have to back away. Oh, for how back and forth this top lane has started to be. We haven't seen too many kills just yet. Just a pair.
Ooh, Soren is playing this risky now. Going for Tier and Catalyst first, so no instant power in the lane for him at all, while what PowerOfEvil has done here is by getting early boots, getting early magic penetration, he's obviously going to do a lot more damage, and this is going to allow him to position really easily for his stuns and his Q traits, and also dodge out of Soren's Qs. So he's basically just building for pure lane dominance here, one-on-one against Soren. He won't really be anything Soren can do to him, and he should always be able to get in range to land his spells. One more stun, once that ulti is ready from PowerOfEvil, and we might see him just go for a kill again. Freeze.
Back is
back stopped here. He has farmed up a lot of gold for himself, and no tower's been taken because both lanes, remember, in the swap was frozen at first, and then the top laners walked up there. Vizicsacsi has been able to get some good farm, and sure, he did waste his teleport completely beforehand, but has not been punished for it just yet.
No, and they'll have some time before it's really going to become much of an issue. There's a minute on the next dragon. Unicorns, of course, did grab that one very early. So sub 10 minutes, we've got another one close to coming up. YoungBuck been chased away by Vardags.
And we're going to have a setup here for the Wolves where most of their damage is going to be purely magic from Soren, obviously from Sejuani as well. Freeze is going to be the only one dealing physical damage, and that's where Nunu comes into the picture. Obviously, a Sivir won't really do anything. Very reliant on her auto attacks late game. Nunu can shut that down pretty hard if we get that setup. So the Unicorns might focus on getting a lot of MR and simply just like snowball Freeze, or well, Ice Blast Freeze from Nunu and kind of prevent his damage from there, and simply say, we don't care about your Karthus anymore. We can run over you. We can get into these fights because we have enough MR to survive it.
Yeah, that may indeed be the plan now. For the time being, though, the short term is see if they can't ban Unlimited into a bad situation. He's going to dodge away as Soren throws down the wall of pain. Dragon, however, is live. And there are a lot of Unicorns in the area ready to start it. Looks like it's actually going to get procced by the sapling first.
Yeah, I would have much preferred Copenhagen Wolves to swap Freeze down to the bottom lane after he went back to base, because he got an item advantage through the pickaxe, and you wouldn't have to surrender this dragon because you now would have your AD carry on the bottom side of the map to basically make sure it's a 4 versus 4. What the Unicorns did instead was saying, okay, we're going to deep ward because we know your AD carries on top side. We can take a free dragon, the second one of the game now, with our very strong mid-game comp. So this is really going to be about 5 dragons for the Unicorns if they can't find any other kills or picks. While the Copenhagen Wolves decide to trade, simply take that top lane tower. I guess it's okay. They're simply trading more global gold for a dragon and saying we really want to try and slow down the game. You have to see if it pays off. I mean, normally, Sivir, when she gets a pickaxe extra, she would do fine in the lane. She can always push it out, and you didn't have to surrender it. Instead, though,
they're doing the best to bully Vizicsacsi. Yeah, he's able to get out. So an ult for an ult, but this tower's now...
They want the tower, yeah.
Yeah, they're able to push this in, and there's no reaction from Unicorn, so...
They would get it.
They can take this.
Okay, so after the Dragon here, the Unicorns didn't really respect Freeze in the top lane, and also Airwaks potentially joining. Instead, they're going for bottom lane.
Oh, yeah, the Requiem's already popped, and Hylissang gonna go down unlimited. Takes a lot of damage from Vardags on the offset of that, but they get a tower, they get a kill. And who needs dragons when you can make plays like that?
That's very true. So suddenly the Copenhagen Wolves made a very good trade here. Getting a kill in the bottom lane and 2 towers up here. I'm really sure why the Unicorns didn't expect more people to be around and send like Kikis straight back after the Dragon to defend this tower. But in the end, good play from the Copenhagen Wolves. Still have to see if these 2 dragons will pay off for the Unicorns. Obviously, the Wolves should be able to fight and have Catalyst, also Rod of Ages completed on Soren have not completed, so we didn't have to wait a lot longer. That's obviously what it does when you trade for global gold. Items is always worth a lot more than, you know, these dragons in itself. And yeah, 12 minutes of Rod of Ages, so it's fairly fast for him, especially with a tier built in.
Yeah, we mentioned it was risky, but I mean, it really is. It's worked out for Copenhagen Wolves so far.
He's managed to basically sit back and just farm, and there's been no punishment from PowerOfEvil against him. So yeah, it really paid off.
Yeah. The one kill, but
it's never bad. It was just if you already died in the lane and you don't come back with any kind of combat stats, that can be a bit of trouble for you. Instead though, PowerOfEvil didn't manage to get anything. YoungBuck just flashed away. Kikis, he keeps walking around in this jungle. Keeps walking around here, getting a few wards down. Skirmishes Saber. He's really aiming on just running at Freeze late game. Smite Freeze, 20% less damage or Smite to Karthus can also be the case, but I would assume it's going to be in Freeze. Shoot a snowball in his face, slow down his attack speed, and that's basically going to be Kikis' job with this Skirmishes Saber here. Normally,
it's still tricky though too when you consider. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute because YoungBuck is getting 1v3'd. There's the absolute zero. Eventual Maelstrom not going to be nearly enough. YoungBuck's going to go down. Vizicsacsi was taking some serious damage. Meanwhile, in the bottom side, Freeze took down Vardags and Unlimited. He was found out by PowerOfEvil action all over the map. But in the end, it's the Unicorns of Love taking a 3-for-1 advantage, and they're going to grab themselves a tower as well.
Yeah, the Wolves tried to dive down the bottom lane, ends up trading 1-for-1. Vardags died, but so did Airwaks. That was a 2v1 dive. The whole counterplay from the Wolves were going to be kill Vardags and take the bot lane tower and trade it for the top lane. They will still be able to get the tower, but had to give up quite a lot of kills here. The Unicorns making the plays,
and they
teleport as well.
So tower goes down to the bottom in all of that, but you've of course got Freeze now trying to push this one up. He's got a wave out, but it's going to be met by Vardags. Let's take a look at how that all happened, that dive especially.
Yeah, so it's a 2v1 dive down the bottom lane on Vardags. Nice flash around. Just gets to blow off Airwaks in the end. Will end up dying, but look at the mid lane here. PowerOfEvil gets a kill on to Unlimited. 2 kills for him now early. Dream is still alive. He has a large rod now.
He does.
Dream is still alive. Luden's Echo. It gives so much extra burst early game on a Syndra.
I just need to see that Aether Wisp as well. We'll see if we do. Oh, and there it is.
We're gonna get it.
Okay, we're gonna see it. First one in the LCS. All right, we'll see how long that takes. But back to the rest of this game. The Wolves have been, up until a moment ago when the Unicorns were really able to just kind of outplay them in a couple different situations, take a decent number of advantages to themselves. They had the 2 dragon advantage. The next one is going to be up in about a minute and a half, a little over that. But it seems like for all of that, they still aren't confident enough to try to force a fight, to try to get involved in the middle. They just need a little bit more ramping up. And Soren, he's played, as you said, just so safe. And it could have been so risky for him, but PowerOfEvil hasn't really been that aggressive this game.
You also obviously have to respect Sejuani once she hits level 6. And if you didn't feel like you had enough information around where the jungle would be, it's better to honestly just sit and farm, wait for 1 or 2 items to complete it, and fight around dragons in the mid game with your comp, than just like keep over chasing for kills on a Karthus. So can't really blame him too much. We have seen Kikis do a good job trying to get in these deep wards here on this Nunu. Now he sets up for another dragon. You're gonna get the speed up. You have a pink ward defensively placed. And this item should be ready for PowerOfEvil beforehand, depending if he wants to go back or not. Sits on 1,000 gold. And then we can talk more about why it's such a good early item, because the 100 magic damage you get when you proc it, obviously. That's a lot in the early game. It also scales into late game, fairly poor scaling, however, but the early game damage 100 is a lot. And because you will have it at the start of the fight, you should have it on 100 stacks. You get the first proc on your first spell. And you move around so much on Syndra, and you keep spamming your Q, you spam your spells a lot, so it will be ready. In terms of like your combo, or in a small fight, you should get it to proc at least twice. With, again, the 100 damage every time. Add that in with the already fairly insane burst damage of a Syndra. You can one-shot targets, and you have even more AoE damage. Airwaks, though, he's been sneaking in behind Unicorns of Love. They're not spotted. Haven't seen the pick hiding in there.
Dragon's going to get started. There's the ward, and they're actually going to try to clear it away. Not quite enough damage in time. Dragon is proc.
There's no TP for YoungBuck.
There is no TP, yeah. They're still around the back, but what really can they do? Absolute Zero is actually being popped just to try and finish off the Dragon a little quicker. Glitterlance is going to reveal. Not actually doing any damage, though. And here we go. The Dragon should go down. They attempted the steal. Not going to happen when you've got a smite on your side, and the enemy team did not. Dragon number 3 over to the Unicorns of Love.
And now it's getting a bit scary. So early, we're 16 minutes in. 3 dragons already picked up. You can see how as well Vizicsacsi was just waiting in the base. As we always see, we get these early home guards here. And then you're just sitting ready for a potential fight to break out. And you can always teleport in behind. That's why if you have the vision control around the dragon, place a few deep wards in, because it gives you so many TP options with your Hecarim, and he can just close the gap so fast, and you have so much burst damage coming with that home guard. Really is surprising people very easily. And the Wolves decide not to fight because YoungBuck couldn't join. Are heading gold. Still need a lot more time though before Soren can really be impactful. Now he has finally the Seraph. I say finally, we're 17 minutes in, he's sitting on 2 items, but
there's the Ludens. Yep.
Slowly building up towards this late game Karthus. And the Unicorns of Love, they're looking so good right now towards this mid game. This is exactly the spike they want. Once Trinity Force is complete for Vizicsacsi.
The question is, do they use it? I mean, the problem that the Unicorns have had a good chunk of the split is we've seen their inconsistency in how they use the power that they do build up. They've basically thrown a number of games by just not properly using their item and team composition spikes, and we'll see if they do that here. So far, I mean, 3 dragons to 0 is a great start. Yes, you've given up 3 towers, you've gotten 1 back for your own, but overall they're skirmishing a little bit better. Let's see what they do now that they have hit a decent power plateau, if you will.
And a key thing often for the Unicorns is that PowerOfEvil has to do well early game for them to win games. He's now 2-0 on Syndra. He's been farming really well, highest farm in the game. You couldn't have asked for a better start, honestly. He keeps pushing down this mid tower here. If Soren gets caught out in a combo, he ends up dying. So it's a great start for Unicorns, and they have all the right tools here to do well. There's a flash engage.
Yep, they find the Tibbers. That's Unlimited going down. PowerOfEvil unleashes the power. Teleport coming in after the fact. Here comes Airwaks. Dodge by PowerOfEvil.
Oh,
he's going to be in some trouble after he misses the flash. And in comes Vizicsacsi. YoungBuck trying to clean up duty, but his mop isn't big enough. And Absolute Zero will zone him off. The Unicorns charge in, and they take 2 in a tower.
Just a very stand-up play here, knowing you have all the pressure in the mid lane because your mid lane is that much stronger. You just push it down here. We saw the flash engage from Hylissang, and there was a few quick kills. A lot of flashes blown from the Wolves as well. Airwaks obviously planting his head first into the wall. There's a dead Pora there. Now Soren.
You said he gets caught, and he goes down. That's going to be PowerOfEvil shut down as well, but Freeze was able to secure it anyways. Kikis now, can he make his great escape? Yeah, there's a flash, he's fine. So
Unicorns finally heading gold, got the 3 dragons. Why do you slow? Let's see it again. So keep in mind, you have the stronger mid laner, you have the stronger AD carry, so that's why you're forcing plays at this point. You're not afraid to dive in as well. Kikis was in the jungle, trying to get some information. This is a well played by PowerOfEvil. He dodges the stun first, then he flashes away from Airwaks as well. And then we're gonna see...
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That is too great. And then another one. I mean, flash into all the walls.
Every one of them.
I want to see with the PowerOfEvil now, because against the Karthus as a Syndra, if you don't have an Outlast late game or any way of protecting you from the Karthus ulti, you're going to get chunked down so hard from it. But we might just see him play really safe in the back and simply go for like Void Staff, potentially as a 3rd item, Death Cap if you can afford it, and just like go full damage and then get Outlast as the latest or the last item, because that's obviously one of the annoying things when you build Ludens here is you delay your core items a bit. But it's now one of the core items on the likes of a Syndra, at least for PowerOfEvil, as we can see here. because he likes to move around. It's so good in small and early skirmishes, simply again because of the 100 damage you get from it, which is still effective. Late game, the 100 damage is not going to be a whole lot, and that's where the scaling comes in instead. It makes it still a pretty decent item.
Yes, it does. And now I want to see what PowerOfEvil's able to do. He has been able to clean up some kills, but then he's had quite a lot of help. The fights have been started really well from Unicorns. They're kind of the skirmish masters this time around. Gold's still pretty even though, but that dragon, the third dragon buff's really what's helping him out a lot.
Yeah, all they need to do now is just push the mid lane, push the bottom lane, because that's the last outer turret. And once you push the mid lane, it opens up for you to walk into the enemy jungle. Place a few wards here, make sure you don't face check into the Copenhagen Wolves. Because when you push in the wave, you can see how Soren, he's sitting in now defending at his tier 2 tower. So you have full information at least of one guy. Okay, step 2, you have the top lane pushing, you can see YoungBuck. That's 2 people you now have information of Freeze in the bottom lane. Suddenly you know the only thing you can face check is a Lulu and a Sejuani. That's not scary. So it opens up for you to now walk into the enemy jungle, place some of these wards here, because you can see all the carries on the map just by pushing every single lane at once. So just go back, do it again, push in that mid lane, have Soren sit on his tier 2 tower, and then you can slowly move between the lanes, because you want that last tower in the bottom lane to go down.
Speaking of towers, it is 2-3 still on that score. The Wolves, they've taken the 2 in the top, so the middle outer still remains. It was cleared away there by the Unicorns. 20 seconds till the next dragon is available. Copenhagen Wolves, they really need to stop this one. You don't want that early of a potential 5th dragon buff. If this one goes through, it'll be the 4th straight for the Unicorns. So far the games today we've seen, when teams do get those secured up, usually ends in disaster for their opponents. This time, Copenhagen Wolves making a charge in. There is going to be the Ice Bola. Here we go. Kikis, though, zoning away with the absolute 0. And the Wolves had to rethink their strategy. A number of ultimates blown and no deaths here just yet.
And that was the entire engage used by Copenhagen Wolves. Unicorns managed to disengage. That was a very nice stun onto Airwaks. Now, Copenhagen Wolves, they're going in again.
Yep, they find Hylissang. The Timbers is down, but so is Hylissang. Vizicsacsi coming in. PowerOfEvil picking up YoungBuck right at the bat. Airwaks is already down. Here comes the rest of the team. Freeze chasing forward, but he is getting blown back. It's a double kill. Going over to PowerOfEvil. The Karthus ult comes in and takes down Kikis, but the Unicorns aren't done just yet. It is a 3-4-2 in their favor. The Dragon
Wolves should go mid here.
in the middle.
Just go mid lane. You won't really be able to stop this Dragon in case PowerOfEvil starts it for them. So just try and see if you can push in for this tower at least. Problem is, PowerOfEvil, he's reading it, he's going back in there. Another fight won by the Unicorns of Love. They managed to disengage at first when the ulti was popped from Freeze, when the ulti was used from Airwaks. But nobody got shut down. YoungBuck, though, he's coming in with home guards.
Yeah, they should be able to take this one down, but he is stopped. So PowerOfEvil is not going to be able to take him out. The minion wave evaporates. They give up a lot for that. Freeze is going to have to pop his spell shield to avoid a lot of damage. Now here comes another teleport. Vizicsacsi, 2 can play at that game, and it's YoungBuck that they target. He gets stunned after he burns his flash. They don't manage to take him out. And now the Dragon's still alive here. They're 4 men strong.
Those are some horrible TPs.
Yeah, this is some really, really weird decision making, but they are in the position to take the Dragon.
He wanted the Dragon here. He did use his E on the minion though, and Kikis again. Just likes to ult the Dragon. 4 now. Remember that trade the Wolves made earlier, which was a good trade, honestly. Get 2 top towers for the 2nd Dragon. That's not a bad trade. Problem is now 4 dragons. So see here, this stun is so important. Airwaks, he gets stopped first. Ulti doesn't stun anyone. Ulti from Kikis is perfect to zone away the Wolves. Now all of these ultis have been blown. Suddenly the Unicorns can kite a lot easier. It's way better for PowerOfEvil to position himself. We can see the Copenhagen Wolves, they try to go in Righteous Glory. Hylissang will drop. But the point is that there's nothing left to lock down a Syndra, to lock down a Graves. And these 2 guys together can deal all the damage. Vizicsacsi had a good ulti as well. And that's how you can clean up the fight. PowerOfEvil just dancing around. Always move. When you have Luden's Echo, you always move. Move, 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 move all the time. Stack it up to 100. Sadly for Kikis, he gets stopped.
Yeah, there's no getting away from the Requiem, and as a result, Soren's able to pick up a 3rd of his. He's still ramping up pretty effectively himself.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, credit to the Wolves, they've kept pretty even in the gold game. They've got more towers to their names, and they have not been sitting idly by while the Unicorns do secure things like dragons, and just, they're slightly getting out skirmished, and that is just a credit to how well the Unicorns have been able to set up these fights.
PowerOfEvil at the moment, 25 minutes in, sitting on 516 AP.
Yeah.
His Luden's Echo does currently 177 damage. with it. And obviously he's going to have it ready 2 or 3 times per fight to proc the people's faces. Because like every spell gives him 20 charges, and every time he moves, like I believe it's 1 Teemo, he gets 5 or 6 stacks as well on it. So as long as you keep moving around and keep spamming, it will be ready very, very fast. And this simply means for the Copenhagen Wolves, unless they get the perfect engage where they can lock down the Syndra, who's building extremely squishy. Obviously, there's 0 defense for him. No peel really either, except for the Nunu. And they're going again for PowerOfEvil. They got it this time.
This time, no problem securing him up, but they have to be careful. Soren was a little bit low. Wild growth on him to keep him a little beefier. Hylissang gonna come in, drop the timbers. Here comes Vizicsacsi to pick him off. Freeze is gonna fall next. It's a double kill. After the fact, the Requiem is going to be a parting shot. Vardags very low. Airwaks on the chase, but Vardags blows a buckshot in his face, and that is 4 down on the side of Copenhagen Wolves for only 2 unicorns, and it's not over yet.
That almost looked too good to be true for Copenhagen Wolves here. They saw PowerOfEvil, they wanted to get him, but they realized YoungBuck wasn't there, and he will die in the end. Ace for the Unicorns of Love. They engaged, they got the Syndra, realized our big tank is not here. Unicorns can now clean it up.
Quite easily. Look at that damage they're putting out on the turrets. Here come the 3 members of the Unicorns still, as the Wolves just getting off a Fountain. The death timer's not too long just yet, only 27 minutes into this game, but Inhibitor turret goes down, playing the safe route, they will get away. So big fight, big towers, and all for the cost of a PowerOfEvil.
So again, they see PowerOfEvil here, no flash, and we just talked about how as long as they can lock him down, he's so squishy with his build, you can kill him. There we go. Ulti did get popped on Soren, so that was a lot of damage. Now look at YoungBuck here in the minimap. He's coming from the top lane, so Unicorns know they can go in. It's still a 4 vs 4, and that was such a sick combo. Flash timbers into Hecarim ulti, into all the burst from Graves. Beautiful setup. And obviously nothing Copenhagen can do in the end. Airwaks is trying. Vardags is life-stealing on the Raptors. In the end, gets a Poro.
Get a lot more than that. And yeah, and of course, finishing off YoungBuck after the fact. Looks like they might try to do it again. No, this time he's twisted, advancing right on in. Unleash the power to take him out. Unlimited now. He could fall as well. There is just so much damage. Wild growth is not going to be enough to save him. As Vardags comes up with that kill. Soren, flash for flash. Kikis chasing him on through. The snowball to keep him slow. And an absolute 0. Here comes Vizicsacsi Insurance to pick him off. And it looks like they're peeling over to the Baron with a 2-man advantage. What can the Copenhagen Wolves do to stop this one?
There's been a fun day. A lot of action in our games here. The teams are really using some of these hard engaged compositions really well to force fights. We see so many different picks. I mean, this one, suddenly we have Syndra against Karthus in the mid lane. The last one, we had a Victor against a... Help me out here, Pyro. Corey played Victor.
I can't even remember anymore. It's just been so exciting.
Well, it was 2 other picks. That's the point. Diana mid lane, of course.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Different picks coming in all around.
We have seen a lot of diversity here
got
on this
TP
patch.
now. That's very far back from Vizicsacsi, but he's coming.
They're still coming, yeah. I don't think they can stop this one. Airwaks, he's going to try to get the slowdown. He's got the dash, and he dodges out the Scout of the Week, but he's going to go down. Definitely going to go down. I don't know what I was thinking. When they get their sights set on something, these Unicorns will continue to chase it down. They've got the Baron buff. They've got 4 dragons to nil. It's 30 seconds on number 5 if they want it, and they have a naked inhibitor here, and they're charging straight for it, going for broke. The Copenhagen Wolves, they have to react to this one, but it's already gone.
Yeah, can't really do anything, and now 20 seconds for the 5th dragon, 30 minutes into the game. Baron already picked up by the Unicorns. Airwaks won't be able to join for this fight here. The Wolves are going to have to try Hail Mary, where you just, I guess, go all in. I would almost just give it up here, because you know the Unicorns have all the control around it, or they should have. YoungBuck now would be caught out.
And you can't afford to check that one. Twisted advance back in, but Kikis picks him off. Popping the absolute 0. Dragon should be a no-brainer pickup here for the Unicorns of Love, but they're not taking any
Airwaks got to go and try and steal it. I mean, he almost has to, but it's
not going to.
No, it's impossible.
So 5 dragons, they've still got the Baron buff on them. A massive advantage now to Unicorns of Love. And the Wolves are still trying to play like they were on even keel, but this time, it's not going to work out.
I was getting a bit afraid in the pick and ban phase when I saw Maokai and Sejuani being locked in. Like, that's, again, 2 of the strongest picks in the current meta in terms of providing a fantastic front line But the Unicorns, obviously with PowerOfEvil leading the charge early game, got a few kills picked up for themselves. And then they've just been so much better playing around dragons in this game here. The Copenhagen was trying to trade it for a few towers. They needed more time before the Karthus could really scale up. And that's what the Unicorns used. We mentioned how good their mid game was. And they've done nothing wrong, honestly. They've played it correctly. Force these dragons, force the fights. Use your Syndra to just one-shot people every time. And use your Hecarim with that early home guards to just run at people.
And there's no way they can really stop them on the side of Copenhagen Wolves too. You can see how hectically they're trying to defend on these occasions, but they just don't have a chance. There we go. Vizicsacsi is able to bail out after they spend the ultimate from Sejuani on it, but Soren, he's getting blown away. The turret's there. That's going to be Soren able to get a Requiem out to soften up these Unicorns, but it won't be nearly enough to take them down. Inhibitor number 2 surely going to fall down here. The Unicorns are still in the Wolves base. They're looking for revenge from that last time these two met to even up the score. They do need this game, as we mentioned, to try and make a better run for these playoffs, and they are certainly making a statement for that right now.
Yeah, this is so important. If they win this game here, there's going to be 3 wins down to Rocket, to Giants, to Medium Makers, to Elements, before some of them play later today. And again, yeah, you get a bit of distance to even the Copenhagen Wolves. With Gambit suddenly losing a few games, not looking too strong, suddenly the Unicorns are looking towards top 4 in Europe. And it's funny, we often talk about it when they play, because if they win, it looks great, and we're like, oh, they can go for top 4. And then suddenly they just randomly lose the next game. And it's tough with these Unicorns here to predict what they're doing.
It's really hard to pin them down. That's
this game here, again, they had all the right things for them. PowerOfEvil needs to do well early game. That happened. He got 2 kills. They get super hyped because they get a few early team fights that they do well in, and suddenly they just know how to play the game. They know how to play around dragons. I guess not the toughest when the team's kind of giving them to you, but the point is you take full advantage of it.
We've seen a number of these several uncontested dragons really going over today, and it just, you got to wonder, the teams that are giving them up, they're trying to trade and then they just fall further and further behind. All of a sudden they realize they can't really do anything about it. Now every member of the Unicorns is shoving down the last remaining lane that has an inhibitor in it. Copenhagen Wolves trying to defend. There's the Wall of Pain. The minions are cleared out. You gotta wonder if your Unicorns of Love, it's just wash, rinse, repeat. They've got a couple more minions there, and this tower is going to go down really easily. And they keep on charging forward. Kikis in the front. You gotta be careful dealing with him. Not to get slowed down too fast. And as much as the Wolves try to stop these waves, they're gonna keep coming.
More and more. Suddenly someone has to go back and defend, and then Unicorns can move in and get a few hits on the tower. You got the blood ball on your AD carry. It's not going to take him too long to burn through it, and if anyone gets caught by Syndra stun, he should die at this point here. Superminions are pushing in together with the horse.
Yes, Vizicsacsi made a long trek down bottom. Superminions really doing a lot of work on this side. Meanwhile, the Wolves have found themselves pinched inside their own base. Airwaks is going down. Here come the rest of the Wolves onto Vizicsacsi and Kikis. Oh my goodness, Soren is going down so quickly with the Requiem still coming out, but he doesn't have enough damage to pick anyone off. Hylissang was already down. YoungBuck trying to make the play. He's taken out. It's just Unlimited and Freeze now for the side of the Wolves. Can they save the day? The Super Minions, they're pushing on the last Nexus turret. Turn their attentions to the Nexus. Unicorns of Love, they can break the last inhibitor and forget that last one. They're pushing straight towards the Nexus. It's going to go down oh so quick with the damage they have. The Wolves can't react in time, and the Unicorns of Love have taken the win.
And we can really see the strategy coming in here for the Copenhagen Wolves. The lane swap, they try and slow down the game. You go to late game, the Unicorns say, nope, that's not going to happen.
No way.
We are going to fight a lot, and we're going to use our mid game so well. And we see this from the Wolves every time. Whenever they lose, they still get together, talk a little bit and say, don't worry guys, we're still in the playoffs for now. And let's just look towards the next game we're going to play.
They certainly have a less strenuous schedule for the last 3 matches, but the Unicorns definitely gave them a run for their money. They, on the other hand, definitely needed this win going forward, as they will have a very, very hard set of matches. But for now, they are the victors, and their fans lining up to greet them here. Very, very, very happy that the Unicorns have managed to pull off such a convincing win.
Yeah, they should be. PowerOfEvil doing really well in the laning phase. Obviously mentioned a few times how Syndra into Karthus. is a really tricky matchup for the Karthus, but this is basically the worst that could happen for the teams outside of the playoffs. Because you're looking at Unicorns and saying, wow, this schedule is tough. So if they lose to Copenhagen Wolves, they're the ones we're going to go for. They're the ones we want to overtake in the standings. But by them winning now, suddenly for Elements and for Rocket and Giants and so on, you look at two teams in Copenhagen Wolves and Unicorns look to basically secure the spot. Because as we said before the Wolves, they have Giants, they have MYM. Teams they should be able to beat and then stay in the top 6.
Yeah, so now it does get really hairy, but you know, that is how we tend to do things here in the European LCS, I feel like.
No ties yet.
Back and forth. No, we don't have the ties, but we have a lot of uncertainty still. For the Unicorns, they are very certain that was a very, very strong game for them. A lot of happiness. He's Sheepy with a big smile on his face.
So really what we've seen so far now is whenever Hecarim gets played in the top lane, not in the jungle, but in the top lane, and you get an early home guard, if you run a composition that does really well in the mid game, you can force fights so easily, and that's really, really scary. Again, we saw the plan from Copenhagen. We'll slow down the game, go late game with the Karthus. That's our setup. Go late game with double tank, Sejuani and Maokai, and we will win these team fights. They just never got to that point because there were so many ways for Unicorns to engage, and because, again, the Syndra did so well in the lane, it gave all the mid pressure to the Unicorns. We saw them push down for that tower early, and then, of course, every single dragon went over to them. That's why if you have the stronger bottom lane, you keep them on the bottom side of the map. So you have that dragon control early, so you can take these early dragons. There was no response from Copenhagen Wolves. The first one, Unlimited stayed top lane to sit in a 2v0 lane with Freeze. We saw how YoungBuck and Airwaks didn't move towards the dragon. Normally you would sit down, you support, and stop that early dragon from happening. And then the next one they trade for 2 towers. Suddenly, 5 dragon is going to happen.
Yeah, they gave it up pretty easily, and then they gave up the game after that one. Let's step on stage and join QuickShot, who's standing by for a look